Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of the Barnack Hour. This is another short episode to talk about a few different topics. My friend Keith is either traveling or busy, so he couldn't join us today. So I figured I would get on camera here and talk with you about a couple things that have been going on here at Tamarkin Camera. One of which is a terrific new podcast. Well, maybe it's not that new, but I just discovered it, called Camerosity with Mike Eckman. Check it out. We'll have a link down below. Also, I got to tell you, I read a terrific blog the other day. I've been reading this guy's blog for a while, but he made a post the other day that was really spectacular. The fella's name is Johnny Martyr. He has a blog that's wonderful. Again, we'll put a link down below. Please look these folks up because they're doing great work. They're doing stuff that I wish I had the time to cover here on the Barnack Hour, but they're doing this stuff so well that please do look them up. The other one that I wanted to mention to you that I've appeared on before is the Classic Lenses podcast, and we'll have links to all of these in the show notes below. So today, we're here to talk a little bit about the differences between the Leica M6 film camera, the Leica M6 TTL film camera, which we regard as a separate model, and the camera that everybody is over the moon these days about, the Leica MP. And we had a few different questions in the last couple of weeks about these differences. And so, leaving the MP aside for just a moment, I want to look at the differences between the M6 and the M6 TTL. You might be able to notice that the TTL is slightly taller. It's 2 millimeters taller. This really doesn't mean anything unless you're going to use the 50 millimeter dual range Summicron lens that has an ocular attachment. And if you do, it just means that the ocular attachment needs to be modified. But the dual range lens works fine on this camera. So you can see the height's a little bit different. The shutter wheel is a larger size with an off position. It also flows in a more intuitive direction for shooting. Both cameras have the rewind crank. This will become important to note when we look at the differences between these cameras and the MPs. The other difference between the M6 and the TTL, which again we regard as separate models, is that if the M6 is cocked and it's in your bag and the shutter button gets depressed, it can light up the meter, it will light up the meter, and that can deplete your battery. And so, in the interest of making things more ergonomic, with the M6 TTL, they have this larger wheel which has an off position on it. And what that means, the off position, is even if the camera is advanced and it's in your camera bag and maybe the shutter button gets tripped, it doesn't light up the meter and spend your battery. Both of these cameras, in fact, all of the cameras that we're looking at in this video are fully mechanical. That means if you take the battery out, the meter doesn't work. Otherwise, they are just like every other Leica you've ever had. Or may want, or may be getting soon. The other difference between the M6 model and the M6 TTL can be seen in the viewfinder. When you're metering your subject, there are two little LED arrows that point at one another for over and under exposure. On the M6 TTL, they added a dot in between those two arrows, and that is the indicator that you have a proper exposure. And with that, those are really all of the differences between the M6 and the M6 TTL. M6 TTL, there are a few other what we see as unimportant differences. And that is the M6 had a number of different engravings. Sometimes the M6 appears here, sometimes it appears with the word Leica as it does on this camera. There's a bunch of different engravings for the M6, which they changed along the way. The M6 TTL has, TTL means through the lens. And it is much better if you're using a flash. It's better for metering. It means that the flash that you're using can be much more sensitive to putting out smaller puffs of light and used as a fill flash. And it's just a lot easier to use a flash on a TTL camera. Now, you may have noticed, I don't really use a flash, so I kind of don't know what I'm talking about. We got to go to the user's manual for that, because most Leica people don't really use flashes. So I can explain more about that, but I'd have to consult a user's manual, instruction booklet, which I don't have in front of me. So suffice it to say that we have increased flash capability with the M6 TTL camera. Here's one other difference, and this is a salient difference, but it's so uncommon that we don't usually run into it. The M6 camera was made in a 0.72 magnification. It's 72% of a life-size image. Towards the end of the M6 production run, before the TTL was introduced, Leica began to make the M6 viewfinder in two other magnifications, a lower magnification, 0.58, and a stronger magnification of 0.85. This one happens to be a 0.85. The 0.58 and 0.85 M6 classic cameras are quite rare, and few were made only at the end of the production run. When Leica introduced the M6 TTL with its larger wheel, off position, and slightly improved meter readout, they also made the 0.58 and the 0.85 variants stock options. So you could buy this camera in silver chrome or in black chrome finish that you see here and order it in either the standard 0.72, like the M2, M4, M42, M4P, or you could get a 0.58 version, which has no 135mm frame lines, or a 0.85 version, which has no 28mm frame lines. M6 Classic, M6 TTL. Some people refer to these interchangeably. We don't. They're different models for us. Also, on our website, you can see the listings of cameras that we have for sale. We're going to look at some cameras here that we have. They're not necessarily for sale, so take a look at our website and find what we have for sale. And you'll see that with M6 cameras, we will list the magnification. It'll say M6.72, serial number, blah, 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 blah. Now, we have the M6, the M6 TTL, and the camera that everybody is so gaga about these days is the MP, understandably. And here are the differences between the M6, both M6s, M6 TTL and M6 Classic. I'm just going to use one of these cameras for simplicity. The M6 cameras have a rewind, lever, and crank, whereas the MP cameras have the M2 style rewind knob. M6 and M6 TTL cameras have an articulated advance. MP cameras have the traditional advance. The MP camera has an improved rangefinder, which is resistant to flare. It has the smaller dial, like the classic M6 and the earlier Leica cameras, but like the TTL, it has the off position for that very same reason that I mentioned earlier. You may also notice that there are aesthetic differences, like in the inscription. We don't really pay a lot of attention to that in these videos, in part because you can see them here, but also because the function and the form of the thing is the most important part, at least in our world. And so you might notice that this is black lacquer, black paint, and this is black chrome. So the MP cameras, besides the difference in fixtures, they also have different finishes. Leaving the finishes aside, we're talking about the differences between these cameras, the M6 and the M6 TTL and the MP. It's important to note that when the MP was announced, it came in silver chrome with a Leica script on the top and the black paint with a Leica script on the top. If you were feeling froggy and you wanted to get something really special, you could order an MP, or also the M7. You could order the MP a la carte. And what that meant is you could choose things like your vulcanite, your finish, and whether or not you want the top to have an inscription. Leica no longer offers the MP or M7 a la carte program. So cameras such as this, which is an a la carte MP, cannot be ordered so easily anymore, but you can see that they do exist. And so the reasons, like, why is he talking about a la carte? If I can't get it, why is he talking about it? I know, believe me, I know. We're not insensitive to that. The reason that I'm mentioning the a la carte program in this video is because MP cameras were made on the a la carte program very often. So you can find an MP camera with the rewind crank, like the M6, and the articulated lever. You can see them with a chrome collar, with a black collar, with an inscription, without an inscription, black chrome, silver chrome, black paint, green leatherette, vulcanite, red vulcanite, the sandpapery vulcanite of the MP, which is less of a leatherette look and more kind of sandpapery feel. So there are a lot of variations in the MP camera. Besides the basic functional differences, it's important to note that there are MP cameras out there that don't fit in the mold that I've described, because you could order your own special camera and pick any combination of special features for an extra fee, of course. Anyway, the important thing is it's a Leica, and it's got a working meter, a working shutter. You can stand on the thing and it won't buckle under your feet. They're made of primarily of brass. Some cameras have zinc top plates, some cameras have brass. Again, we don't concern ourselves with that so much here at Tamarkin Camera and at the Barnack Hour, because it's the function of the thing that's the most important part. And if you have a working Leica camera with a working meter and accurate shutters speeds, then all of your images are going to be as good as the lens that you put on the camera. And all of your images will be as good as that lens and what you can do with your Leica camera. And you can do anything with your Leica camera. So as you're shopping around and looking for what your next lens might be or what your film camera might be, please do give us a call. We're happy to give you more detail, photographs, information. We're all about the information, and we're all about putting these cameras in people's hands. So come visit us in our downtown Chicago location and you can check out all the babies. Meanwhile, while you're shopping for your film camera, you can remember and review some of these details at your leisure, and you can look down in the notes for the podcasts and shows that I've mentioned, and also a little bit of information on the Leica MP and M6 TTL cameras. So, gee, I hope I haven't missed anything really important, but if I have, please let me know down in the comments and we'll answer your questions. So as always, thanks so much for watching. We're thrilled that you found us. Please hit the little link that says subscribe wherever it is, and like us or hate us, comment, do whatever you like. We're just glad that you're here with us talking about Leicas. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.